Hey Kelly, what's going on? How you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Doing all right. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
So what's been going on? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just teaching every day and planning a wedding.
Oof, sounds like you're keeping busy. I would say. So what's going on? What brings you in? What's going on?
Lately I've really been thinking about teaching in the classroom,
Okay.
whether it's for me or if I should go above being a teacher and just go to like the Board of Education and kind of leave me as a primary classroom teacher behind.
Okay. So tell me about your teacher's experience so far.
Okay. Well, I've had 2 years of experience so far.
Okay.
And within those 2 years, I've, have grown to love the kids, love the students every day. But it's just every now and again I hit this major, bump in the road that makes me think that teaching in a classroom is not for me, per se.
All right. What do you mean by a bump? What, if you don't mind describing that for me a little bit? What does that mean?
Well, a bump in the road to me can be either a situation, a negative situation with a coworker in the school, a negative interaction with a parent, and a negative interaction with the student. So the three main people that I encounter, just the negative bumps, and sometimes it feels like the negative outweighs the positive sometimes.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you overall like what you do. You like teaching overall. There's just a couple things involving working with some parents, and then maybe working with some teachers on these maybe the specifics on how the teaching process works. And but overall, it sounds like you like it and you like working with students. Is that right?
It is.
Okay.
It is. I love the students.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you do. So, but it sounds like if that's something that kind of causes a bump and maybe something that's a little more personal for you, as you said, what does that may not be something that you're looking for long term, which is obviously why you're talking about it. What do you see, if you don't mind, what kind of I guess being more broad, what do you see as what you want to do? What do you see as what you think you could really be good at and what you want to do in the future?
Well, when I was looking at my master's that I have to get for teaching, I was looking at gifted and talented students, getting my master's within that. And then with that, I would either continue to work in a classroom environment. So as I grow with my experience, maybe I learn how to cope with those negative bumps in the classroom. Or I take that master's and I go into the Board of Education and then help teachers. So I'm teaching teachers. Okay. With gifted and talented students.
All right. So it sounds like you've kind of worked out that you have two general paths. One that kind of sticks to in the classroom setting, and one that kind of is a little more on the working with teachers on what to implement in the classroom. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what if you could describe your perfect day? Here's what I'm going to show up today on just a day-to-day basis, not big picture. Just here's what I'm going to do today. What does that ideal day look like for you?
Okay. The ideal day is going in at 8 o'clock or 8:30.
Okay.
Not 7 o'clock like I'm currently doing. That'd be wonderful.
Yep.
And then just kind of having my day planned out of go to school A and observe a teacher with gifted and talented, or a teacher who's requested that I observe them.
Yeah.
And then talk to them about ways they've implemented some stuff with gifted and talented students. That would be Monday.
Okay.
And then Tuesday, what the highlight of that job would be is to go to a professional development in another county or something, and go with coworkers, but also connect with people around the state.
Yeah.
And just conference with them about gifted and talented implementation stuff that they have seen. And then Wednesday, go back to the school A and talk with all the teachers about that.
Okay.
That would be my perfect job.
All right, that's cool. Let me ask you this: what? I know you mentioned you've kind of already looked at masters and grad schools and stuff like that. Because I know, I mean, as you obviously know, you get to around, was it 5 years or what's the? Is it 5 years? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's 5 years after I get my bachelor's. So in 2020, I have to have 15 hours.
Okay.
Towards a master's.
Okay, so you know you have to be moving towards a master's at some point anyway, at least
Yes.
in this state. So moving forward, because you can basically pick that master's, from what I understand, you can basically move from that master's wherever you kind of want to go, and it really depends on what you do. You can kind of cater it to where you need to go moving forward. What I will ask is what kind of, I guess, what do you see as the next couple steps for you, or what do you see in the ideal world? What is your next couple of steps to get towards that either master's degree or to that job that you're looking for?
Well, first step would actually be to get accepted.
Okay, yeah.
Been working on that one.
Yeah.
But once I get accepted and I go through those classes, along with working through the classes, my next step would actually have to be get more teaching experience.
Okay.
Because I do believe that Board of Education personnel wants a person who's really knowledgeable in the classroom environment and what goes on.
Okay.
So if they're helping teachers implement things that we know the knowledge of what's really like what's ideal in the classroom,
Yeah.
or what's plausible, versus here's a plan and it's not plausible. So
Okay.
so getting more years of teaching is definite steps to take. And then after that, or while doing that, probably just showing my face in professional developments with the Board of Education. That's very ideal. What a coworker has been telling me, like, hey, this is how you bump up.
Yeah.
In that field, or this is what that person did. They showed up to professional developments that the Board of Education runs, so they can see your face more and more often and ask them questions like, hey, don't be shy to ask them a question, you know.
Okay.
If you want their job, ask them how they got to it. So yeah.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is you got a lot of, you kind of know, or you have a pretty good idea of what the long-term plan is as far as to get into that role, which is great. But what I might want to suggest, or maybe something you think about that you probably have already thought about it, but it's just something to think about to keep it a little more, keeping that global mindset in mind, but also bringing it in a little more locally. And what I mean by that is, which again I'm sure you've thought about, but like the first thing you said, you want to get accepted. And that's obviously the first step in the process. If that doesn't happen, we got to move forward from there. It's a bit of a domino effect at that point, as you know. So, what do you see? Tell me a little about that acceptance process that you've gone through, and maybe where you're trying to go. What kind of stuff do you want to work on between now and maybe the next week or so that we could actually move forward in that acceptance process?
Like resume stuff. I do know they need my praxis scores, which they already have because I went through Western as undergrad.
Yeah.
So they already have that documentation.
That's really helpful. Yeah.
They already have my transcripts because it's at Western, so they are Western, so they already have that.
Okay.
So as far as I know, teacher certificate is the only thing that's missing in my application papers. So.
Okay. So, and I'd have to do a little bit more research on the specific program to give you an answer more specifically, but I will say many of them also often require resumes and cover a letter of interest or something like that. So what might be a good idea for you is to, and I can work with you on that if you'd like, work on seeing if they need a letter of interest or resume that goes along with that, because and seeing if there's an interview process that goes along with that. So what we can do is if you're interested, we can set up a couple meetings where we work on a resume and a letter of interest, and maybe work on some of those interview skills, and we can work on them one-on-one before you actually go through that submission process. Is that something that you might be interested in looking into?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me ask you this. Over the next week or two, I guess kind of keep it as local as we can at the moment, what do you see as your to-do list, or what kind of, as far as your goals, what are you trying to accomplish, or how do you see yourself accomplishing your goals in the next week or two? Like, what are the couple things you want to get accomplished? That was a lot of questions. Sorry about that. But
no, you're fine. Goal 1 is to get teacher certificate to them.
Okay.
Probably brush up on my resume just in case.
Okay.
About that, and possibly talk to my principal right now and see if there is a kind of like recommendations that they need to do. See
Okay.
if they're comfortable with filling that out, and also my co-teacher, see if she would be willing to do recommendation stuff too, if she's possible.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So let me just to give you just to kind of summarize what we've been talking about here. So you sounds like, again, as we started when we talked, you like the teaching profession, the education is still something you're very interested in, you want to do moving forward, which is great. Sounds like you've got a couple paths that we'll kind of have to just kind of navigate as we go and see what is more interesting to you, if you want to stay in the actual teaching classroom, or if you want to go on more the planning and setting up of the classroom, maybe not so much the implementation, but the maybe the plan for what that implementation looks like. Would you say that's accurate? Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of know how that process works. You've talked about some master stuff that you're interested in, some application materials, and what you're looking at to get to that day-to-day job that you're ideally trying to get to. You also have a pretty good idea of what you want to do in the next week or two that gives you some tangible stuff you can work on as you leave. I mean, do you feel pretty good about what we've talked about so far? Is there anything in that goal setting, or maybe in that plan that you maybe don't like, or something that we talked about that you weren't necessarily a fan of?
No, I think everything's good. I've been on a few interviews in the real world, so I'm not scared about grad. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I am kind of scared, but it's okay. I'll get through it. We'll get through it.
Yeah, I got you. And that's what we're here to work with you on. We're here to work with you on that stuff to make sure you're prepared, and then when you go in there as prepared as you can be in those interviews, it's a lot easier to handle, and it's something that you can kind of take on one bite at a time. It's not as scary when you have something to prepare with, basically.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that when you came in the office today that you wanted to get an answer on for sure that we didn't talk about?
Not that I know of.
Feel pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess that's all we got for you. That's all I have for you, unless something you want to talk about. Since we have those couple things for the next week or two that you can work on, why don't we set up a time you can come back and meet with me anytime, but obviously just if you want to talk about, maybe we'll set an appointment for next week or maybe the week after that, so we can see how that application material has been going. We can keep talking from there.
Okay.
That sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Kelly.
you. Thank you.